Greetings, viewers, YouTubers, interwebers, and such. My name is Byron. If you are new to this channel, I am the Bull, and this is my foodie channel. And this week, I made a Oreo cheesecake in the Instant Pot, and it was slamming. It was so good. So this video will entail how I constructed it and the ingredients that I used to put it together. And like I said, it was just so good. And for the first time that I've ever made a cheesecake, made me feel real good. So there will be more coming in the future, obviously. So, you know, since this is YouTube, if you do enjoy this video, drop me likes, comments, and I will reply to the comments. And consider subscribing, and I upload on Wednesdays, so that is that. And the video will be presenting soon. So we're going to do a quick rundown of the ingredients. So I start with 2 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. This is 12 Oreos, so almost the full sleeve. I'll use the other 4 later. 2 eggs, a 1/4 cup of sour cream. This is 2/3 cup of sugar, and then I use a teaspoon of vanilla extract and cherries for the top. So we're gonna start by crunching up the Oreo cookies. And if you're like me and you're not much of a baker, I decided to opt for a used, repurposed wine bottle to the same effect. And then this is just a lined springform pan that my good friend Laura let me borrow. And I just put some parchment paper in the bottom of that, and then I'm going to give it a vigorous spray with some nonstick spray. And we are going to put the crust inside the liner, pack it all down, and put it into the freezer. So as you see here, I just use a mason jar and crunched everything down inside the springform pan, and then I tossed it in the freezer while I made the toppings for the actual cheesecake part. And before I forget, make sure these items are room temperature. So to review, we used 16 ounces of cream cheese, and then I'm just going to blend this just a tiny bit on low until it gets soft, and then I'm going to start adding ingredients. Next goes in the sugar, and I did this in 3 parts. So I poured a little bit in, did a little blending, poured a little bit more in, did a little blending, poured the rest in, did some final blending. Okay, so it was 4 parts, but you get the idea. In parts. In the next step, I added a teaspoon of vanilla extract and the 1/4 cup of sour cream and gave that part a blend. And then every once in a while, you're going to want to scrape down the sides and make sure everything gets blended well. Then this next step, I put the eggs in one at a time, did some blending, and then I dropped the other egg in and blended that in too. And resisting all temptation, I put the rest of that sleeve into this bag here, crunched it up, and then this is going to be blended in with the cake, and I just folded it in a little bit after a rough chop. This gave my cheesecake that cookies and cream feel that looks really good on camera. And tastes really good too. So now we're gonna just grab our crust out of the freezer and we're going to fill it up, and then we're going into the Instant Pot. And before I stuck it in there, I made sure to shake it all down. I almost had a little springform disaster here, but shake it all down, and I gave it a couple taps just to make sure everything was leveled and there were no bubbles or anything in there that were going to ruin my cheesecake experience. And we put our sealing ring in. We got some color-coded ones. We have a red one for our eggs, the white one we use for just regular everyday cooking, and then this blue one I'm going to use for sweet things like cheesecake. One cup of water, and then in we pop the cheesecake on the trivet so we can get it out of there, and on goes the lid. So I turn the keep warm off, and then we pressure cook on high for 25 minutes. Then you let it sit for 10 minutes and you release any remaining steam. And the moment of truth. Very nice. So now we're just gonna make sure that it's cool enough that I can get it out of there. Yep, we're good. So now we'll get this out, and then it's gonna sit on the counter for approximately an hour. So before we let it rest, I'm gonna dab off the excessive liquid that was on the edges, and there was just a little bit in the middle. But this way I didn't have to use foil and cover it and all that other stuff. It turned out pretty good, and you just dab it out of the side there and everything works out real nice. Then we opted to put some cherries on the top, and this made it look really, really nice, and it added a new dimension, and it was just really good. I have seen this step done with extra Oreos and chocolate and such, but I thought that was going to be a bit overkill. So we opted for the cherries, and I think it was a good decision. Top yours how you would like. We ended up doing 5 hours. In the second moment of truth, the springform pan release. And it came out pretty good. Looky there. Comment below if you approve. And finally, the cut test, which I think turned out pretty perfect too. If you enjoyed this presentation of Oreo Cheesecake, please drop me a like. Consider subscribing and ring the notification bell, and you will get fresh updates when I upload. Thank you. Oh, yeah. It's time to see if my handiwork has done its thing. Hands up well to the fork test. That is approved. It's super easy. If I can do this, pretty much anybody can do this. Man. That's the real deal.